I want to start this video off by saying that I was not going to play or buy this game. The more that came out about this game, the less I even wanted to look at it. But my curiosity got the better of me. Let's just say I got the game in a totally legit, legal way. These two games, whether I like them or not, are adapting stories that I do like. I like Yakuza 3, and I'm not just saying that because everybody all of a sudden likes Yakuza 3. I truly do like the game, and I already knew about Mine's backstory. Thank you to all the Mine dice shippers that translated that stuff. Like seeing a friend get into a relationship with somebody that hates them, I had to see what was going on. What was RGG going to do with these stories that I like? That's what this video is about. Not about the combat or the side content or any of these gamey things, but rather the story and the idea of this Mine spin-off. Also, I don't really have a script or anything for this video, so it's going to be a little disjointed. More disjointed than usual, because my stuff is... it's not very good. Fundamentally, Dark Ties is a story that I like. The problem is, it's a story that I like. That's really the thing with RGG Online. RGG Online, for as good as the writing is, it also has flaws. It's a mobile game, dude. The pacing is just not gonna be the same as a full-length game. It definitely lays the foundation of a story, but it's not a perfect substitute. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. Dark Ties just straight up copies the script from RGG Online. That's a bit of a exaggeration, but like 95% of it is the same. I'm not gonna go over every minor difference, like RGG Online, Mine starts off by reminiscing looking at a picture of himself, but in Dark Ties, he does it in a car. The point is, it takes both the good and the bad from RGG Online. That leaves a lot to be desired. For example, the acting patriarch of the Nishikiyama family was a nothing character. He's just a generic guy that shows up, they kick him out, he shoots Daigo, they kick him out again, it's whatever. Dark Ties does the same exact thing. They don't add any depth to his character, they don't give him more scenes. They erase his name and they make him a likeness character, and that's about it. The same can be said for Kanda and Mine's relationship. There are minor differences. Like, in Dark Ties, Mine warms up a lot quicker to him, while in RGG Online, he's like, hell no, I'm never gonna respect you, before he eventually does. What I'm trying to say, though, is that I don't really feel the weight of their relationship, at least early on. Kanda tells Mine that his whole life has changed ever since Mine came into his life. It's true, and Kanda definitely means it, but they met 1 hour ago. It just happens so fast. There's no time for the story to just sit and breathe because it's just going and going and going. Not only do things feel underdeveloped, they also feel unearned. Maybe it's just because I already knew the story, but it just feels so fast. We need to make money for power so that we can take head of the Nishikiyama family. Okay, we made the money. Let's take head of the Nishikiyama family. The hour of knowing Kanda is also different from, knowing Sayama. At least you get to see their relationship develop. But with Kanda, it's like you run around and fight two groups of guys, and now you're up in the world, you've made money. Later in the game, we've spent more time with the characters, so we're already involved in the relationship and we see how it's developed. I just wish there was more of it at the beginning of the game. There are so many little time skips in this game too that could easily been filled up with content or story. Forget about the Kanda damage control, forget about the Colosseum, give me more of the characters. Like, you couldn't just have one extra scene of Ikari trying to scrape together as much money as possible. It's so easy to stretch this out to a full game without forcing mandatory side content. You can develop Mine more, you can develop Kanda more, you can develop Ikari more. You can split the game into 2 acts. Mine's backstory and his time getting to know Daigo. Instead, his time getting to know Daigo is stapled on to the end of this game, and it just doesn't work. To be honest, it kind of works, but not really. The man called Yoshitaka Mine's backstory. It ends with Mine talking with Daigo in Daigo's office. Dark Ties still has this scene, but it streamlines it. It combines it with another RGG Online story and has Daigo bring Mine to his favorite bar. It flows perfectly. The end of one story leads to the beginning of another. I don't have a problem with the ending, minus that one part. Daigo finds out that the Mine he knew, it was the real Mine the whole time. It's the same script as RGG Online, but elevated to a whole nother level. Which really isn't that hard because RGG Online, the cutscene looked like this. It would have been perfect if we got the rest of the story. You have the beginning of it and the end of it, but you forgot the meat. The story that made them become drinking buddies is actually very important to Yakuza 3. I was gonna read out the story, but that's gonna draw out the video, so... Mine realizes that Daigo's thing for Kiryu is kind of dangerous. It sets up his interest and sort of respect for Kiryu in Yakuza 3, and it also further develops his relationship with Daigo. It's really just about how far Daigo is willing to go for Kiryu, and how far Mine is willing to go for Daigo. Like, he couldn't find Daigo, so he bought out a whole taxi company to get the customer records to find Daigo. Mine is like the only person who's reasonable. He asks Daigo, "Why would you go out of your way to do this? You're the Tojo clan. You have thousands of men." Daigo says, "It's because Kiryu is special to me." And Mine confronts him. "You once told me that the Tojo clan is like your family. So why are you prioritizing Kiryu, who's not even part of the clan? You're the fucking chairman, bro!" All Daigo can do is apologize. Then a few days later, Daigo tells Mine that he trusts him with his life, and he makes him an advisor to the Tojo clan. I'm telling it in a very abridged way, but it's simple, it's sweet, it gets the point across, it sets up Yakuza 3, and you can see how it builds off the foundation of the man called Yoshitaka Mine. It's a really simple thing that adds a lot of flavor. Get it? Mine is a hypocrite because he does all these things for Daigo, but he doesn't understand why Daigo would do all these things for Kiryu. Unfortunately, RGG didn't adapt it, even though they adapted the story that follows this one and the one that came before it. It's so easy to stretch this game out to a full game, man. Just replace Kanda with Daigo and give Daigo like 10 drinklings. Now I have to talk about the end of Yakuza 3 sees Mine realize that he was wrong. Seeing Daigo hospitalized made him think, did I even know the real Daigo? Because this is not him. This is a shell of who I knew. I have to put him out of his misery. But at the end, he's proven wrong. His whole world comes crashing down. Mine was about to kill his greatest ally for no reason. Knowing that he can't live with himself, he wants to die. Kiryu and Daigo believe in second chances, but Mine doesn't see it like that. To him, it's already been set in stone. He has to die. I get it, man, like, we went through this entire game where he was just doing crazy ass shit. His second chance starts here. Killing Richardson will be Mine's first and final noble act. Kiwami 3 in Dark Ties knows this, which is why when he's resurrected, it says,
Mine Yoshitaka は死んだ。ここにいるのは一人の名を消した男。
They know that it's stupid. There's not really any emotional weight behind it. Mine's entire worldview exploded, and the ending of Yakuza 3 gives him a second chance. It's a tragic ending. You can only wonder, what if he was redeemed earlier? That's why people hate Richardson coming back. partially because it's dumb and partially because it defeats the purpose of Mine's sacrifice. One last act of goodwill done for nothing. Mine coming back also defeats the purpose of his sacrifice and regresses his growth as a character. He just had a second chance, and he knows that they're gonna give him a second chance. And he even says,
桐生さん、もう少し早くあんたに会って教えてもらいたかった。
but he still chooses to erase his name? Why? There's straight up no reason for him to do that.
Oh, but actually, you said he couldn't live with himself anymore.
That's true. He could not live with himself anymore. That's why he jumped off, because he was trying to die. Now that he's alive, he could just go back there. His death is also one of the events that sends the Tojo clan on a downward spiral. Well, but now he's alive the whole time, and he's just not gonna go back to the guy that he dedicated his life to. Alright? The tragedy and complexity of Mine and Daigo's relationship was also what made it so compelling. Daigo is powerless to do anything, and Mine realized too late that he was wrong. It's the beauty of being cut short. With Mine alive, that tragedy is lost. Go to Daigo! What are you doing? To me, it feels like an attempt to repeat things that Kiryu did without understanding why they worked. When Kiryu dies at the end of Yakuza 6, you understand why. Time and time again, his family gets targeted because we know they are means to an end. Anybody that wants to get Kiryu can just use his family. If he lives, his family is a target, so he dies. Mine leaving his name is an attempt to do the same thing, but it regresses his character in the process. It just makes everyone have brain damage. There's absolutely no reason for him to do any of this. Making the Daidoji save him is also stupid. It's just a way to make people go, oh my god, I like those guys. But it sort of makes sense in Kiryu's case. He has something he wants from them, and they have something they want from him. If Kiryu were to go out and not be on a leash, he could just tell everybody about the fucking boat in the water. But if he did that, they would probably drone strike Morning Glory. But with Mine, it's like, why? Why is this guy even being recruited? They have nothing to gain with recruiting him. At least with Nishitani III and Shishido, you could argue that they bitched the Daidoji so hard that they wanted them on their side. Mine is just a random Yakuza to them. I want to say that I do like parts of Dark Ties. It takes from stories that I already like, but it's clear that it suffers because they just did the bare minimum with it. It takes the good parts and the flaws, and nobody really changed anything because they just wanted the story done and out. Maybe this is a game that they wanted to get out because it has necessary context for the future. They did what they needed and they moved on. It's part of why I think they were so bold with all of the cuts and changes in Kiwami 3. We need this out, so let's just get it out. And if we put these two bare minimum things together, it's probably good enough. Kiwami 3 is, it's one thing. I have too much to say about that game and not enough ways to say those things. But Dark Ties is a different story. You already copy and pasted from RGGO Gotoku Online. Why not just commit to it? If they put as much effort as they put into like the Kaito files into this game, it could have easily been one of the best. Except they didn't, and we got the bare minimum. And I know some people are gonna be like, oh my god, oh my god. It really depends on the bare minimum. You play them and you're like, yep, that's Yakuza 1. That's Yakuza 2. And then on the other side of the spectrum of bare minimum, you have Yakuza Kiwami 3, which is probably like you can walk, you can punch, sub-story, side content. Alright, we're good. Let's go. Let's move on. Release the game. And that's it. That's all I got.